On the fifth morning after the move, Claire found Noah asleep on the floor beside the last sealed box, one hand hooked through its cardboard handle. His new bed was less than 3 feet away. The sheets were clean. His favorite green blanket was folded at the foot. But sometime after midnight, 10-year-old Noah had taken his pillow down to the floor and placed it against the box as if he were guarding a door. Across the top, over Claire's neat black label that said bedroom, miscellaneous, Noah had written 2 words in blue marker. Keep closed. Claire stood in the doorway holding a mug that had already gone cold. There were still towers of boxes in the kitchen, a lamp without a shade in the living room, and a dining table buried under rolls of tape. She had spent 4 days trying to make the new house feel less like a storage unit and more like somewhere they could breathe. This one box had become the only thing Noah would not let her finish. She bent to lift his pillow. The cardboard shifted half an inch. Noah's eyes opened at once. He grabbed the handle with both hands. Don't open it. I'm not opening it, Claire said. I'm getting you into bed. He did not release the box. Then he said something that made no sense to her at all. If you unpack it, Ben won't know where I live. Ben lived 42 minutes away now, back in the apartment building Claire and Noah had left the previous Sunday. Before the move, he had lived across the hall for almost 3 years. The boys had met when they were 7 because Noah rolled a red foam ball out of apartment 3B and Ben kicked it back from 3C. After that, the hallway between their doors became part racetrack, part drawing studio, and part border checkpoint for an invented country that had too many rules. They built forts from flattened grocery boxes. They traded comic books under the stairwell. They knew which elevator made the metallic sigh on the 4th floor and which neighbor gave out orange candies in December. Claire had not understood how much of Noah's world fit into that narrow hallway until she began putting it into boxes. The move was not a surprise. For months, she had shown Noah photos of the small rented house with the maple tree, the patch of grass, and the bedroom with 2 windows. She let him choose the pale blue paint. She drove the route to his new school with him twice. She made a calendar and crossed off the days. Noah had seemed almost excited. He talked about putting a desk under the window. He asked whether Ben could sleep over. On moving day, he carried a box of books to the car and told Claire he wanted his new room arranged before dinner. But when the truck doors closed, Ben stood on the curb with both hands in his sweatshirt pockets. Noah looked at him through the back window. Neither boy waved until the truck had already turned the corner. At the new house, Noah helped with exactly 7 boxes. Claire knew because he numbered them in blue marker. Books. Desk. Clothes. Models. Lamp. Games. Bedding. The 8th box had no number. When Claire carried it toward his room, he stepped into the doorway. That one stays closed. For tonight? For always. Claire was tired enough to laugh, but Noah did not. So she set it beneath the window and told herself it could wait. For 2 days, it did. Noah unpacked his books and arranged them by height. He put 3 model airplanes on the new shelf. He helped Claire find the screws for his desk. But the sealed box moved every time she entered the room. First it was under the window. Then beside the bed. Then behind the bedroom door, where the door struck it each time it opened. On Monday night, Claire asked what was inside. Old stuff. Then we can decide what to keep. I already decided. On Tuesday, she offered to put it in the closet. No. On Wednesday, she suggested the garage. Noah dragged the box closer to his bed without answering. By Thursday, the bottom had begun to bow from being pushed across the floor. Claire found a crescent of cardboard dust near the baseboard. She was trying to be patient, but patience felt different at the end of a day filled with missing permission slips, a new school pickup line, and a kitchen drawer that would not close. To Claire, the box was no longer just a box. It was a trip hazard. It was a job left unfinished. It was evidence that Noah had agreed to the move until agreement required him to live in it. To Noah, she would later understand, it was something else entirely. Friday afternoon began with rain and a call from Noah's new teacher. Nothing serious had happened. Noah had completed his work. He had been polite. But during partner reading, he chose the single desk near the supply cabinet and said he preferred working alone. At lunch, he sat at the end of the table and spent most of the time folding the corner of his napkin into smaller and smaller triangles. Transitions can take time, the teacher said. I just wanted you to know what we're seeing. Claire thanked her, wrote the words partner reading on the back of an envelope, and carried the worry home with the groceries. Noah came in 20 minutes later, wet at the shoulders and irritated by everything. The hallway hook was too high. The apple slices were too brown. The internet password was stupid. When Claire asked whether he had spoken to anyone at lunch, he dropped his backpack beside the stairs. Why do you always ask that? Because I want to know how your day was. No. You want me to say it was great? Claire felt the reply before she chose it. I want you to give this place a chance. Noah looked past her toward the boxes near the dining table. I did. For days is not giving it a chance. You said I could tell you how I feel. You can. But you can't refuse every part of being here. The argument should have ended there. Claire knew it even while it was happening. Noah was wet, hungry, and cornered in a hallway that still smelled like fresh paint. She was tired and frightened by the teacher's careful voice. But the last sealed box had been sitting at the edge of every conversation all week, and suddenly Claire wanted one thing she could solve. We're unpacking your room tonight, she said. All of it. Noah's face changed. Not that box. That box too. You don't have to throw anything away. But it cannot stay taped shut in the middle of your floor forever. It's not in the middle. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Claire opened her mouth and heard the answer she was about to give. The point is that this is our home now. She said it anyway. Noah picked up his backpack and went upstairs. His door closed, not slammed, which somehow made the silence afterward feel sharper. At dinner, he pushed rice into a small wall around his peas. Claire tried a softer voice. You can choose where the things go. They go in the box. You haven't even looked inside since we moved. I know what's there. Then help me understand. He stared at his plate. You won't. That answer hurt more than Claire expected. In the old apartment, Noah used to tell her facts she never asked for, the exact number of stairs to the laundry room, why Ben believed pigeons could recognize liars, which comic hero would be worst at making pancakes. Now he was sitting 6 feet away, holding one explanation behind his teeth as tightly as he held the cardboard handle at night. Claire tried one more time. Is there something broken in there? Noah shook his head. Something that belongs to Ben? His fingers stopped moving. It was only half a second, but Claire saw it. Noah? I said don't open it. He carried his plate to the sink and went upstairs. The next morning, Claire found a line of blue marker on the carpet. Noah had reinforced keep closed until the ink bled through the tape. She sat on the edge of his bed and made a plan she believed was reasonable. She would not throw anything away. She would photograph the contents first. She would put anything private back. But she would open the box while Noah was at the library with her sister, because the cardboard was failing and because she could no longer let an unknown object organize the whole room. She told herself this was not a betrayal. Parents opened school bags to find missing forms. Parents cleared spoiled food from bedrooms. Parents made decisions children disliked. Still, when the front door closed behind Noah at 11, Claire waited almost an hour before carrying the scissors upstairs. She cut the first strip of tape. Under it was another strip, laid in the opposite direction. Then a third. The top loosened. Claire slid 2 fingers beneath one flap. Behind her, the bedroom floor creaked. Noah stood in the doorway. Her sister was still downstairs calling after him. He had said he forgot his library card and run back up. He looked at the scissors in Claire's hand and the lifted edge of tape. "You promised." Claire stood quickly. "I promised I wouldn't throw anything away." "You promised you weren't opening it." "That was yesterday morning. We talked about tonight." "You waited until I left." There was no angry exaggeration in his voice. That was what stopped her. He said it like a fact he had been afraid would become true. Then he crossed the room, pulled the box toward himself, and the softened bottom finally tore. The contents slipped across the carpet. Nothing inside was valuable in the way Claire had expected. There was a gray blanket with one corner cut away. 3 flattened cereal boxes. A paper towel tube painted silver. A bundle of string. 2 plastic flashlights. A hand-drawn map of the old apartment hallway, including a crooked rectangle for the elevator and a red X beside the vending machine that had not worked in years. And beneath the blanket was a cardboard sign. It had been cut from the side of a grocery box. The letters were painted in uneven blue and green strokes. Noah and Ben's headquarters. Under the words were 2 handprints, one slightly larger than the other. Claire remembered the sign. It had hung above their blanket fort during winter weekends. She remembered stepping over shoes outside Noah's room and asking the boys to keep one path clear to the fire alarm. She remembered hearing them argue about passwords, then laughing 5 minutes later. What she had not remembered was taking the sign down. On moving morning, while Noah and Ben carried books to the truck, Claire had folded the fort blanket into this box. She must have placed the sign beneath it without thinking. To her, it had been a piece of cardboard to sort later. Noah dropped to his knees and reached for it. One corner had bent when the box split. He pressed it flat with his palm. "I can fix that," Claire said. "Don't." She let her hands fall. Noah stared at the 2 painted handprints. "We said we would put it over the door again." Claire sat on the carpet, leaving space between them. "Here." He shook his head. "At the apartment?" "When I came back." The sentence landed slowly. Claire had told Noah he could visit Ben. She had meant afternoons, sleepovers, video calls, weekends when schedules allowed. Noah had heard those promises and built a different picture. One day he would carry the box back across the old hallway, rebuild the fort, and put the sign where it belonged. If the box stayed sealed, the room inside it stayed waiting. "If we hang it here," Noah said, "then it's not ours there." Claire looked at the open box. The old hallway map. The flashlights that no longer worked. The blanket missing a corner because the boys once needed a flag. For 5 days, she had believed Noah was refusing to begin. He had been trying not to end. "Is that what unpacking means?" she asked. "That you're saying the headquarters is over?" Noah's chin tightened. He nodded once. "And if the box stays closed, it can still go back exactly the same?" Another nod. Claire thought about every question she had asked. What is in it? Where should we put it? Why can't you give this place a chance? She had been asking about cardboard and floor space. Noah had been answering a goodbye he did not know how to say. "I thought you hated the new room," she said. "I don't hate it. I thought maybe you were angry with me for moving." "I am a little." Claire almost defended the move. She almost listed the reasons again: the rent increase, the shorter drive, the yard, the second window. Instead, she nodded. "That makes sense. You can like parts of this house and still be angry that we left." Noah ran one finger over Ben's green handprint. "He said the hallway is boring now." "I bet it is. What if he makes a new headquarters?" There it was. Not a fear that Ben would fail to find the new address. A fear that Ben's life would keep moving while Noah was still carrying their hallway in a box. Claire did not tell him that real friends never forget. She could not promise that. She did not tell him he would make new friends soon. That was possible, but it was not the question. Then it wouldn't erase this one, she said. But I understand why it might feel like it would. They stayed on the carpet until Claire's sister called up to ask whether they were still going to the library. Noah did not go. He and Claire gathered the spilled pieces without deciding where any of them belonged. Claire found a sheet of clean cardboard in the recycling pile and slid it beneath the old sign so the bent corner would lie flat. She did not tape it. She did not frame it. She only made sure it would not fold again. Then she asked, "Do you want the box closed?" Noah looked at the torn bottom. "It can't be. We can find another one." He considered that, then shook his head. "Can it just stay here? Open?" So the box stayed open beside his bed. That afternoon, Claire took down the small floating shelf she had installed near the desk. It was meant for trophies Noah did not own and decorations he had not chosen. Together they moved it to the wall beside the closet, low enough for him to reach. Noah placed the silver paper tube on it first. Then one flashlight. The hallway map went underneath. He kept the sign in the open box. It was not a dramatic transformation. He did not suddenly praise the new house. At dinner, he still complained about the sound the heating vent made. On Monday, his teacher said he worked alone again during partner reading. But that evening, Noah asked Claire for a stamp. He found a postcard with a picture of the maple tree in their new yard. On the back, he wrote the address carefully, then added a smaller line, "Headquarters B, maybe." He stared at the words for a long time. "Is that replacing it?" Claire asked. "No," he said. "It's a branch." He mailed the card to Ben. 3 days later, a padded envelope arrived. Inside was a photograph of the old apartment hallway. Ben had taped a new piece of cardboard above his own door. It read Headquarters A. Under it, in smaller letters, he had written 42 minutes from B. Noah laughed so suddenly that Claire heard it from the kitchen. He ran upstairs with the photo. When he came back down, he was carrying the old sign with both hands. "Can we put this over the closet?" he asked. Claire reached for the hammer, then stopped. "Show me where." Noah stood in the doorway and moved the sign left, then right. He chose a place that could be seen from the bed but not from the hall. Claire held it while he pressed 2 removable hooks against the wall. When they stepped back, the sign looked smaller than Claire remembered. The room around it was different: blue walls, 2 windows, a desk beneath the maple tree, the open box still resting beside the bed. Noah did not throw the box away that day. A week later, he used it to carry books from the floor to his shelf. Later still, he cut one side into a ramp for a model airplane. The words "Keep Closed" remained across the top flap, even after the box was no longer shaped like a box. Claire left them there. They no longer sounded like a command. They sounded like evidence of how hard Noah had worked to keep one part of his life from disappearing before he knew it could travel with him. A child refusing one small step may be protecting a meaning the adult cannot see yet. That does not mean every refusal has a hidden story, or that practical limits must disappear. Claire still needed a safe, usable room. What changed was the question. Instead of asking only, "Why won't you do this?" she became curious about, "What would doing this mean to you?" Sometimes the answer is ordinary. Sometimes it takes more than one conversation. And when a transition is persistently overwhelming or seriously disrupting daily life, an appropriate qualified professional can help a family look more closely without turning one behavior into a label. The new room did not ask Noah to erase the old hallway. It only needed enough space for both places to be real.